My daughter barked. Don't touch anything. My husband's family will eat first. In my own home, with a fridge I had stocked myself, her husband added, She said no. Respect that. I quietly nodded and said nothing. But later that night, when she opened the freezer, she stumbled back screaming because everything inside was gone, including her special dishes. You ever been told you can't touch your own food in your own house? Yeah, I know. It sounds ridiculous. And yet, last weekend, I found myself in a situation so absurd that even the calmest grandmother would want to hurl a pie, preferably at her own daughter. But before you judge, let me ask you, what would you do if your own child suddenly decided to lay down the law in your kitchen, in your own home? It all started on a Saturday morning so bright and warm that the sunlight spilled through my windows like a promise of perfection, the kind of morning that makes you want to fling open every window and let the world in. I had just returned from the grocery store, my arms laden with bags, each one seeming heavier than the last, as if the apples, eggs, and frozen peas had multiplied in my absence. You know that precarious dance? The carton of eggs balanced atop the bag of apples, the mental prayer whispered to every step you take, hoping nothing drops, hoping nothing cracks. And yet, despite the balancing act and the strain in my arms, I felt a quiet surge of pride. I'd scored a few bargains, picked up all the ingredients for my famous lasagna, and even remembered the special gluten-free crackers that my daughter's mother-in-law preferred. If there were a medal for grocery shopping, I'd have been on the podium, waving to the imaginary crowd that surely existed in my mind. As I started unloading, I hummed a little tune, letting the sound echo softly against the kitchen walls. There's something deeply satisfying about filling a fridge, arranging bottles, stacking vegetables, tucking the chicken breasts neatly on the bottom shelf. Even my condiments got their little moment of order. Ketchup, mustard, and the fancy balsamic glaze reserved for company, each in perfect ascending height. For a brief moment, I felt like Martha Stewart on her best day. Queen of my kitchen, sovereign of my culinary domain. And then, just as my spirit soared, the fragile bubble of domestic triumph shattered. Emily came barreling into the kitchen like a tornado in yoga pants, her eyes wide, hair in a messy bun, hands on her hips. She had that look, the one that screams, something's about to happen, and you're going to regret standing in my way. Before I could even ask what was wrong, she planted herself firmly between me and the fridge and declared, Don't even think about touching that food. My husband's family is about to arrive. I froze. A block of cheddar in one hand, a bag of baby carrots in the other. Did I hear that correctly? Was my own daughter telling me in my own kitchen not to touch the food I had so painstakingly brought home? I blinked, searching the fridge for answers, but of course it remained silent. For a second, I wondered if I'd been grounded as an adult, if somehow my parental privileges had been revoked. Before I could respond, Mark walked in. Now Mark is a good man, kind, devoted to Emily, hardworking, but also someone who never hesitates to back up his wife. He puffed out his chest, trying to appear authoritative, and said, If my wife said it, that's how it will be. A little nod, a wink, and suddenly it felt like I was staring at a united front, a team determined to keep me at bay in my own kitchen. I looked at them, tried not to laugh. This was my kitchen, my house, my food. And yet I found myself hesitating, swallowing back a comment, a snide remark, anything that might have reminded them who had fed and clothed them for decades. Sometimes it's easier to let the children think they're in charge. And honestly, I could see Emily's anxiety, the tension she carried, wanting everything perfect for the visit. So I smiled, set the cheese and carrots down, and nodded, playing along. Of course, dear, I said, my voice light, carrying just the right hint of maternal indulgence. Relief washed over her face. Mark gave me a grateful look, a silent thank you for not starting a fight. And I felt a pang of nostalgia mixed with the tiniest pinch of melancholy. When did my little girl become the one giving orders in my kitchen? There would be time for reflection later. Right now, the priority was dinner, and apparently I was operating on a strict need-to-know basis. Emily bustled around, checking the oven, fluffing pillows, adjusting place settings, moving so quickly that the air itself seemed to ripple in her wake. Every time I reached for a snack or tried to help, She intercepted me with a gentle but firm, "Not that, Mom," or, "Let me handle it, Mom." I felt like a guest in my own home, relegated to a quiet corner, tiptoeing around the young monarch of the house. Mark, bless him, tried to lighten the mood. He sneaked a handful of grapes from the fruit bowl once and winked at me. I stifled a laugh, feeling that small camaraderie, that shared understanding that we were outsiders in Emily's kingdom, albeit loving ones. The smells in the house were divine. Roasting chicken, fresh bread, garlic, butter melting over vegetables. Emily's initial tension gave way to a serene focus, and she even allowed me to help set the table under her watchful gaze. I sat back for a moment, quietly observing, remembering the early days when I hosted her in-laws for the first time, worrying over every dish, every decoration, every minor detail. Funny how life comes full circle. Only now, I was on the sidelines, watching my daughter navigate the same path I once walked. Hours passed, the house alive with the hum of domestic perfection. The fridge remained untouched, a treasure trove behind a polished door that I dared not open. My stomach growled, protesting the hours of restraint, particularly at the memory of the chocolate cake hidden among the yogurts and frozen vegetables. The cake called to me in whispers, sweet and taunting. Just one slice. I took careful steps toward the fridge, heart racing, fingers brushing the handle when Emily's voice stopped me mid-motion. "Mom," she said, calm but firm. I froze, hands in surrender, and saw the relief in her eyes as I retreated. I wandered to the living room where Mark lingered, still watching the street as if he expected the in-laws to arrive on a white horse. "Any sign of the cavalry?" I asked lightly. He chuckled, tension still palpable. "They're always early," he murmured. "I just want everything to go smoothly." I patted his arm, remembering my own anxieties in the same position years ago. "It'll be fine," I said. "You've both done a wonderful job." A small smile crept over his face. Back in the kitchen, Emily fussed endlessly, fluffing pillows, lighting candles, arranging the silverware and centerpieces. The woman she had become, confident, meticulous, determined, made me ache with pride and a touch of wistful nostalgia. When did my little girl become capable of running a household with such precision, such poise? The clock crept forward. The food remained off limits. My stomach grumbled in protest, but I laughed quietly at the absurdity of it all. The matriarch of the house reduced to tiptoeing around her own kitchen. A thief in the night, denied even the faintest nibble. And yet, as I observed Emily and Mark working seamlessly together, the laughter bubbling under the surface, I realized this might be the perfect way to witness their growth. Then it happened, the crescendo of domestic chaos. The doorbell rang, snapping the house to attention. Emily dashed to greet the in-laws, hair smoothed, smile radiant. Mark tried casual nonchalance, but his eyes betrayed him. Arms full of flowers and wine, they entered bringing warmth, cheer, and just the right amount of chaos. Hugs, kisses, laughter, the room alive with familial energy. Dinner proceeded flawlessly. Compliments flowed. Roast chicken, garlic mashed potatoes, green beans with almonds, even the gluten-free crackers received approval. Emily beamed, radiant in the glow of deserved praise. And then, just when perfection seemed assured, the house erupted. Dessert beckoned. The chocolate cake I had guarded mentally for hours. But before Emily could retrieve it, a scream pierced the air. A blood-curdling, hair-raising, nearly theatrical shriek. Everyone froze. Heads swiveled. Emily came running, pale, wide-eyed, trembling. "Mom, there's something in the freezer," she gasped, the words stumbling out in terror. I froze for a heartbeat, fighting laughter, my maternal instinct kicking in. I followed her into the kitchen, Mark and his parents trailing. Emily pointed at the freezer with a trembling finger. I braced myself. Was it a mouse? Spider? Some long-forgotten frozen science experiment? I moved aside the peas and ice cream and saw it. A giant, hairy, frozen turkey, wedged awkwardly in the back, legs akimbo, frost clinging like a cloak. I laughed, the sound loud and warm, shaking off tension in an instant. "Emily," I said, holding the turkey up like a trophy. "It's just the turkey. I bought it weeks ago and forgot all about it." Silence, then the eruption. Emily, Mark, and his parents laughing, tears streaming, gasps between giggles. Even the carefully constructed tensions of the day melted away under the absurdity of a forgotten bird. Stories flowed, past disasters, accidental burns, mistaken ingredients, shared laughter that bonded us tighter than any perfectly set table could. Emily hugged me, still giggling. "Only in our family, Mom," she whispered. And she was right. Only in our family. Finally, dessert. Chocolate cake, ice cream, laughter, and contentment. Emily shone, Mark grateful, the in-laws relaxed. And I, watching, realized something vital. Sometimes the best moments, the ones we remember, the ones that become stories retold for years, aren't the ones we meticulously plan. They are the unexpected, the chaotic, the absurdly funny, the moments when life reminds us to let go and just enjoy. Later, as I tidied up, I chuckled at the memory of Emily's face when she discovered the turkey. I thought about all the times I tried to control everything, to make everything perfect, only to have something hilariously unexpected happen. And I realized those moments were the best. Life, family, love, they're messy, unpredictable, and utterly unforgettable. So, next time someone tells you not to touch the food in your own house, remember, sometimes the sweetest revenge is simply letting yourself enjoy it, chaos and all. Life is too short to fret over a little kitchen madness, and sometimes a frozen turkey lurking in the back of a freezer can turn an ordinary day into a story you'll tell forever.